In the heart of a small village called Maple Bluff, nestled in the icy expanse of Wisconsin, a soul was born in February of 1964, one destined to make the world laugh while quietly stirring its deepest emotions. Chris Farley's childhood was marked by the sting of mockery and the loneliness that often clings to those who feel too much. But in laughter, he found refuge. He became a craftsman of comedy, turning pain into punchlines, transforming every bruise of the soul into a warm, disarming joke capable of melting even the coldest winter night. During his college years at Marquette University, Chris first discovered the raw power of physicality through sports. Rugby, in particular, where his size became a weapon, his resilience a virtue. But the spotlight was calling him elsewhere, far from the chalk-lined fields and into a world where words and emotion reigned. He enrolled in communications and theater, where improvisation opened a new door. There, every moment was alive, every line unscripted, every emotion splashed in vivid color across a gray and ordinary world. That hunger to create, that burning need to be seen and understood, eventually led him to the legendary city of Chicago, a place where laughter wasn't just entertainment, it was art. It was within the chaotic, electric walls of Second City that Chris met his calling. And then came a twist of fate. Lorne Michaels, the mastermind behind Saturday Night Live, extended a hand that would pull Chris out of the shadows and into the blinding glare of national fame. Swept into the noise and madness of New York City, Farley began to craft unforgettable characters. Most famously, the wildly unhinged and strangely endearing Matt Foley, a motivational speaker living in a van down by the river. In one of the most iconic moments of his career, Chris launched himself into the air in a blur of unfiltered energy, crashing not just into a coffee table but into legend. It wasn't just physical comedy, it was the embodiment of his lifelong struggle. A man throwing himself against the world with such force, such vulnerability, that you couldn't help but feel the ache beneath the roar of laughter. In 1995, fate brought him back together with longtime friend David Spade for the film Tommy Boy, a road trip comedy born from endless rehearsals, sleepless nights, and a carousel of emotional highs and lows. But behind the laughs, the pressure was mounting. During filming, a seemingly small incident, Spade missing dinner to meet with Rob Lowe, sparked an emotional eruption in Chris that signaled something deeper unraveling within him. Like a cruel playwright, destiny seemed determined to push Chris down a path eerily similar to the tragic icons he once idolized. What so many forget is that behind every moment of comic brilliance often hides a private torment. And in the end, Farley's final days remain etched in memory not only for their sorrow, but as a sobering reminder that the spotlight can cast as many shadows as it does beams of light. This isn't just a story of fame and failure. It is a deeply human journey, one of aching laughter, quiet suffering, and a desperate hope to feel whole. And that, perhaps more than anything, is what makes Chris Farley unforgettable. Sometimes, friendship and fame are a dangerous mix. During the filming of Tommy Boy, tensions between Chris Farley and David Spade hit a boiling point. One incident started off almost comically. Spade was sitting on the ground, peacefully finishing his sandwich, when suddenly he was shadowed by a thunder of footsteps and fury. Farley stormed in like a whirlwind and stomped on Spade's hand with full force. A fight broke out, wild, chaotic, and ended with Spade at the bottom of a stairwell and both actors storming off to their trailers, seething with anger. And yet, as always, it ended the same way. Forgiveness, reconciliation, and a silent, unspoken understanding. There was a strange rhythm to their storms, and within it, an undeniable bond. Farley lived in a constant state of inner war. During the production of Tommy Boy, he stayed away from drugs and alcohol, a monumental effort for someone who had long relied on them to silence his anxiety and pain. But he found another demon, coffee. According to crew legend, he would sometimes drink up to 27 cappuccinos a day. That manic blend of exhaustion, insomnia, and nervous energy only fed the volatility that defined his personality. Despite the punishing schedule, Farley flat out refused to use a stunt double. He insisted on doing everything himself, and he did. When his character crashes into a college party and lands flat on his face, that wasn't a professional stuntman. That was Farley. And somehow, he just got up and kept going, as if pain were part of the ritual, a badge of honor for a true comedian. Tommy Boy became an unexpected success, catapulting Farley to new heights. Suddenly, he had options. But behind the scenes, fame was just a facade. At Saturday Night Live, he found his tribe: Chris Rock, Adam Sandler, Tim Meadows, the so-called bad boys of the show. They weren't just co-workers, they were mischievous kids who never really grew up, making prank calls at 3 in the morning, constantly pushing boundaries. On screen and off, they were always performing, always alive. But there was another Farley, vulnerable and adrift. One night, drunk and delirious on the 15th floor of a hotel with a friend, he almost fell out of a window. He survived, but woke up in the hospital with a deep gash running from wrist to elbow. That was the beginning of his spiral into painkillers. A slow, relentless descent into darkness that cast shadows even on his brightest days. In 1995, NBC decided they had seen enough. Farley and Sandler's off-screen behavior had become too unpredictable. They were fired. Still, Farley's star continued to shine. Thanks to Tommy Boy, studios still wanted him. Paramount began developing a new project, Black Sheep, once again pairing him with Spade. But Farley's heart was elsewhere. Columbia Pictures had a script that ignited something in him, the cable guy. He was willing to do anything to get that part. The problem was, Paramount wouldn't let him go. They didn't even have a finished script. They were scrambling to patch one together just to keep him locked into his contract. And then, out of nowhere, came Jim Carrey. He wanted the cable guy too. And while Farley was beloved, Carrey was something else entirely. A force of nature, a cultural phenomenon. This clash of desire, ambition, hope, and shadow was the essence of Farley's life. He was constantly torn between laughter and despair, stage lights and silence, brotherhood and isolation. Everything was too loud, too fast, too painful. But somewhere in that chaos, in those sparks and stumbles, was his truth. In Hollywood, true friendship is a rare commodity. In a place where contracts outweigh memories and box office numbers are the ultimate measure of love, loyalty can buckle under the weight of ambition. And yet, somehow, in the middle of all that chaos, Chris Farley and David Spade found each other. More than co-stars, they were like brothers, until jealousy, hurt, and betrayal crept in and cracked the